Let's go now to Stephen Miller, Senior Policy Advisor for Donald Trump. And Stephen, welcome back to the show, sir.
Hey, it is great to be here, and may I also say what a big fan I am of your program, and so how much of a pleasure it is to be on it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Stephen. It's good to talk to you again. All right, so as we were getting you on, you just heard him go after Hillary, but before that, we played him from up in Rome today, New York, talking about how the RNC should be ashamed of itself, talking about this whole delegate fiasco, if you will, or the way the delegates are picked, Colorado, etc. It could only get worse. You know what I found out today, Stephen? I found out today, maybe it's my ignorance, that not every single delegate is bound on the first ballot. Over 90% are, maybe even 95%. But if you get 1, 2, 3, 7 going in, it doesn't mean you're going to get all those 1, 2, 3, 7 votes.
No, I'm really glad that you brought that up, and I'm really glad that we get into the nitty-gritty of this right now so we can have this informed discussion. Here's a great example. Pennsylvania, obviously a huge state, the winner of that state will get fewer bound delegates as a result of a primary than the winner of Colorado will get, who had no election at all, because Pennsylvania has a lot of its delegates as being unbound. Now, I'm not criticizing any particular person or entity, but I'm just illustrating the nature of the process. The reality is that Colorado is a symbol for the political disenfranchisement that is the issue of our lifetimes, right? This has been building up for 40 years of open borders, 40 years of terrible trade policies, 40 years of the middle class getting wiped out. Colorado is a symbol for all of that when you get to the point where you get to a state that actually cancels an election so that the voters can't vote.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, so going forward, we know what you're saying is true. What I just said about the bound delegates is true. Is Donald Trump now prepared to combat this head on going forward and making sure he's playing the same game according to the same rules, like him or not, that Cruz and, to whatever extent Kasich is as well?
Yes, absolutely. And that's why we've added to our delegate team, and I'm sure people have been reading about that in the media. You have to do it both ways. In other words, you have to go and fight for delegates in every single state who are unbound or in states where they're not democratically selected. You have to do that. And you also have to make sure that you get as many delegates as you can to commit to you in the event that you're in this situation all the way down the line. But at the same time, what we're doing is we're saying to voters that because the system is stacked towards insiders, we need people to show up and vote big in these primaries. We need to be winning we can in every single primary state, in Pennsylvania, in New York, in New Jersey, in California, Rhode Island, Maryland, Connecticut. And I believe there will be a huge voter backlash to Ted Cruz's crowing about Colorado. I mean, have you noticed, and I don't want to get personal, but have you noticed that Ted Cruz's speeches in recent weeks seem completely issues and content-free? It's just a list of all the delegates that he claims to have turned. Well, we win a congressional district by 30 points, then he brags that he convinced a party insider to secretly switch to Cruz, or that he shows up in Colorado and there's no election at all, and the party gives him the delegates. It seems kind of unseemly to me to spend that much time bragging about voterless victories.
Especially when his whole thing is the Constitution. Now, this isn't unconstitutional, but it flies in the face of the spirit of our whole system, does it not?
Oh, absolutely, because the whole notion of representative government is the idea that the will of the people will be expressed through the people they elect. Right. So let's talk about that for a second. Let's really think about the concept of representative government. Let's say that you're a single parent living in the state of Colorado who has 2 low-wage jobs because your factory shut down and you have to work 18 hours a day just to make ends meet. Do you have 3 years to spend in the Byzantine process of developing the relationships that you need to become a local delegate, then a state delegate, then a national delegate? No. I mean, maybe some do,
right.
But most won't overall, 1 million voters won't.
Yeah.
So they're cut out of the representative government process.
Absolutely. All right, a couple of other things. Paul Ryan today gave a press conference to say he will not accept a nomination. He doesn't want a nomination. He's not going to take a nomination. Does this, bring you any comfort going into the convention in case you don't have the delegates, or do you believe the establishment would just pull another rabbit out of a hat, so to speak?
I don't think that it was ever. We've never really spent a lot of time thinking about that possibility. Right now, we're focused on getting the 1237, and we're focused on Ted Cruz. And I do want to make one other point, since we're in the business here of myth-busting. Ted Cruz is not winning delegates in voterless victories in, say, Colorado because he has some amazing organization with limitless persuasive powers. The reality is that party insiders who spend many, many, many years being part of the official party tend to favor Ted Cruz. That's just the reality. It's not an indictment of any person. It's just a statement of reality.
So they're giving it to him as opposed to him, going and getting them.
Right. I mean, I was in Colorado. I didn't meet one Colorado Ted Cruz delegate who said to me, well, I was on the fence between the two of them, but, Ted Cruz's campaign just personally persuaded me. No, they'll tell you is that from before the election ever began, before Trump had ever declared, that they were supporting Ted Cruz.
Right.
And again, that's not an indictment of them, but just a little fact check here about how this process works.
Let me let you hear something that took place on a stage in New York with Hillary Clinton and Bill de Blasio over the weekend. Let's roll that one.
I heard my name. I just have to say, thanks for the endorsement, Bill. Took you long enough.
Oh, snap! Sorry, Hillary. I was running on CP time.
That's not. I don't like jokes like that, Bill. That's not funny.
Cautious politician time.
All right. I maintain that if Donald Trump had participated in a skit like this, as Hillary did, CP time, colored people time, all hell would have broken loose.
Well, for one thing, isn't it just painful just listening to the audio? Isn't that just sort of painful? That was just, I don't even know what word would even describe it, but I think what I'll just say is this, because I don't want to, when your opponent is collapsing, the number one rule of politics is you just sit back and you watch them collapse.
Right.
But what I will just say is that it underscores what an incredibly weak general election candidate that she is, and how we, in an election against her, are going to pull off millions of disaffected and disappointed Democrats and independents. I do want to make one other point, and you've been very generous with me in giving me time to share our side of things, which is that one of the reasons why Ted Cruz tends to have an easier sell, if you will, to longtime party officials and functionaries is because he's not challenging two central pillars of donor class orthodoxy. One is trade and one is immigration.
Right.
You can go look at Ted Cruz's website, go read his immigration plan. There's not one word about actually reducing immigration.
Gotcha. Stephen, great to talk to you, sir. Come back,
you.
say hello to Donald. Thank you.